It is week 11 in the NFL, and you are watching Picks with David. Thanks for joining me for another one of my videos right here on YouTube and on Facebook. And as we begin this week with 5 big picks, we're going to go to Atlanta, where the Chicago Bears are coming to town. The 3-7 Chicago Bears at the 4-6 Atlanta Falcons. Two teams with very similar attacks. You've got teams with mobile quarterbacks in both Marcus Mariota and Justin Fields. They run the ball, they get out of the pocket, and they extend plays to try to get the ball down the field to some of their playmakers. And I think that, when it comes to both of these teams, the Chicago Bears have won narrowly and have also lost narrowly recently, but I really think Chicago is starting to come on. Their offense is really starting to come up thanks to Justin Fields. I think the addition of Chase Claypool has helped spread the field open a little bit more so that the passing game has become alive. Cole Kmet is getting no longer the double teams that he was seeing earlier in the season, and so he's starting to make some big plays. Fields is running the ball in the end zone for a touchdown almost on a weekly basis. And despite the defense being weakened by the loss of Roquan Smith through a trade, I think that the defense is hanging in here, and I see them as being a pretty decent team down the stretch. If they can manage to hold off some teams offensively, I think they've got a real shot of having a positive year the rest of the way. For Atlanta, their defense has played okay from time to time, and they've hung in here with some of the big boys in the NFC South. The New Orleans Saints, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but unfortunately, they had a real bad loss in Carolina in the rain after they narrowly escaped them at home. I think that Chicago is the better team here, and I'm going to take the Bears to beat the Falcons on Sunday. A Week 1 rematch in the AFC North. You've got the 5-4 Cincinnati Bengals at the 3-6 Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh's coming off of a nice win against the New Orleans Saints, and Cincinnati is coming off of a bye. And so they've had an extra week to prepare for this Steelers team, who had Mitch Trubisky starting in Week 1. Now it's Kenny Pickett. Now, the Bengals are not going to have Jamar Chase again this week, even though, they've had a chance for him to heal up a little bit. So you're going to look for T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd to be the main targets, but the running game has really started to come on for the Bengals. For the Steelers, yes, they got T.J. Watt back, and he played his normal wrecking ball style against the Saints. I like that the Steelers' running game is still trying its best to get ahead. They're having trouble running the ball, but last week, Najee Harris had a couple of big runs, and so you could see that some of the holes are starting to open up for him as they're getting better and better throughout the season. But in this particular game, I like the Cincinnati Bengals to go into Pittsburgh, where earlier in the season, when they were playing at home, they narrowly escaped the Steelers. I don't think that's going to be the case here. I think Cincinnati wins soundly at Pittsburgh. Possibly the game of the day on Sunday, you've got the 6-3 Dallas Cowboys at the 8-1 Minnesota Vikings. The Dallas Cowboys are coming off of a game that they should have won against the Green Bay Packers. Twice they held a 14-point lead against that NFC North team. Now here they go to Minnesota to play a team that has narrowly beaten many teams this season. One-score games are basically what we're talking about when it comes to the Vikings, and they did it again in Buffalo against a team that I think Buffalo is a great team, but I think that in this particular game that they played against them, the Vikings did everything they could to give the game away and still came away with the victory because of mistakes that Buffalo made. And so while they have a great record at 8-1, and I'm a big Minnesota Viking fan, I think that some of that shine is not warranted. I think a lot of people feel that way. And I think that because the Cowboys were embarrassed last week by not getting that victory in Green Bay, there's going to be renewed vigor. This is going to be a tough game back and forth, but I like the running game of the Dallas Cowboys with Tony Pollard as the lead back and Dak Prescott to make some plays. The team that doesn't make the mistakes in this game is going to be the team that wins, and I think that coming off that loss to Green Bay, Dallas wins in Minnesota this week. Flexed into the Sunday night football game, we've got the 7-2 Kansas City Chiefs at the 5-4 Los Angeles Chargers. Kansas City continues to be one of the top offensive teams in the NFL. Despite playing against the Tennessee Titans and coming away with a narrow victory, there are several positives that you can take away from how well their defense has played thus far this season. As far as the Chargers are concerned, they came off a tough loss against the San Francisco 49ers, and that's pretty much a result of the fact that a lot of their playmakers have been injured. Now, there's a possibility that Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are both going to play in this game, but they're questionable with injuries. Either way, the Chiefs come to town and always end up playing against a really tough competitor in the Chargers. I think this will be a barn burner of a game, a close game, but a narrow victory for the Kansas City Chiefs. Monday Night Football is coming to you from Mexico, where the San Francisco 49ers are 5-4, and they play against the 4-6 Arizona Cardinals. Both teams come off of a game where they have beaten up on a team that was ravaged by injuries. The Cardinals over the Rams, the 49ers over the Chargers. And so now they get an opportunity to face off here in Mexico, where I think the San Francisco 49er defense, despite having some injuries on that side of the ball, has really made a lot of big plays and has kept the team in games while the offense has been evening itself out. The return of George Kittle over the last couple of weeks has been really good for the 49ers. Of course, they traded for Christian McCaffrey. Deebo Samuel came back this last week, and there was a mix of the two offensive giants there really coming through and making some big plays. It'll be fun to see what they can do from this point on. For the Cardinals, their defense has let them down at times this season. Sometimes they're a sieve. Sometimes I think it just depends on who they're playing as far as the scheme that they have and whether or not they can make any stops. Kyler Murray has DeAndre Hopkins back on offense, and he is basically the focus of the offense. A lot of catches, a lot of plays down the field to him. Most of them have been short passes that end up going for 10 to 12 yards. And it's almost like Murray has forgot about his other options at receiver and tight end. The running game has been improved with the return of James Conner. But for the most part, I think that the 49ers are the better team here. And I'm going to take the 49ers to win the game on Monday Night Football. Another edition of Picks with David in the books for Week 11. Thanks for joining me again. Be sure to like and subscribe the video. And we'll see you again on Thursday for another edition of Picks with David. Until then, have a good one.